Those cryopods there, they leave the limbs a little stiff. Now, I got orders from the top brass that we need to talk about the PLAS-Purifier. And to be fair, this weapon used to be really bad and now it's seen some changes, so how is it performing now? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to break down the weapon, we're going to talk about the pros, the cons, and what it pairs nicely with. So if you like Helldivers 2 content, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And yeah, I think we're going to head over to our pod and I'll see you planet side. Looks like we all made it. Nobody brought the Hellfire pod booster. That thing's garbage. But let's move back on to the PLAS-Purifier. What's different about it now? Let's talk about the general stats for it and how it functions. Well, now what they changed is you can now semi-automatic fire it. The charge up, you don't need to hold the whole thing down for a full charge. You can now release it early if you want to. But if you are going to fully charge it, it now does 200 base damage, 300 explosive damage, and with that explosive damage, it has a nice radius to clear out small chaff. And so one of the biggest problems with this weapon when it was first released was you had to fully charge it, and then it felt really bad to get out of rhythm because you didn't have a semi-automatic function with it. And then when you did fully charge it, the damage was pathetic. But thankfully, the weapons development team took it back to the shop, and this might be one of my new favorite guns of all time. I'm only going to really be talking about the bug side for now because maybe later next week I kind of want to do another primary tier list but focused on the bot side. I already have one with the terminids, but in that bot list I did have the Purifier in D tier because it was, again, that first iteration. Now I'm actually thinking, before I mentioned in another video that I would put it in A tier. I'm thinking I might need to be putting it into S tier because that charge shot really does allow you to do so many things with this weapon. So let's just talk about some of the pros with it as far as what does it cover bug wise? Well, it kills everything up to medium penetration, obviously, and it does it in an efficient manner. We're talking 3 full charges for an alpha commander. Now those alpha commanders they're pretty tanky boys. And yeah, so anything underneath a alpha commander, it's going to take 1 to 2 fully charged shots, which is insane. Because this magazine size is 15, which you look at that and be like, that's not very much. But with these charge shots, they really do make those shots count. Now, if we're talking about a bunch of the lower chaff, and as far as its ability to clear those out, the explosive radius from a full charge is very generous. You clear them all out. You can probably score up to 5 kills if you get a shot right in the middle of a bunch of those little bugs. So really, from the lowest tier to the medium armor guys, man, this gun is phenomenal. Oh, and what's that? The explosive damage type? That's right, it does extra damage to those weak spots. So we're talking about the vents on the back of Hulks. We're not going to talk too much about the bots, but that's what I'm talking about for their weak spot. And then for the bugs, usually they're sacks. So we're talking about in the Chargers, it's the Tushy, and then it's the underside on the Bile Titans there. And this thing does a phenomenal job at blowing those up. And then when it comes to Chargers, when you blow up their butts, they eventually bleed out and die in a pretty quick fashion. So this thing basically covers everything. Well, gee there, Nomad, you're really talking up this gun a whole lot. What can't it do, honestly? Well, let's go over to the cons section here. So for the cons with this weapon, I mentioned the mag size a little bit earlier. And so if you want to use this thing in a semi-automatic fashion, it's not gonna perform very well for you. It's gonna be an ammo guzzler. It's gonna do good damage, but you're gonna be reloading a lot. So it's really that charge up functionality that you should be focusing on with this weapon, because you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck and it's going to go the whole time without feeling like you're reloading all the time. That's a major, we're going back to the positive with this all of a sudden. That's a major positive about this weapon is the ammo economy compared to something like the Scorcher, which that ammo economy still feels like it's holding the gun back, especially now that we compare it to the Purifier. But let's circle back around here. Okay, back to the cons here. What else can't this thing do? Not much, honestly. I'm just kidding. Building damage, structure damage. No structure damage whatsoever. So this thing, you're going to need something to pair this with something that can do structure damage if you kind of want a fully rounded out kit. Another slightly negative thing about this weapon, I would say, is the ease of use. So when I'm talking about ease of use, I think the AR Liberators. Super easy to use, very straightforward, not a lot of finesse with them. You just point, shoot, job gets done. Now with the Purifier, you do have to get it kind of used to charging it up and if you want to actually pull the trigger early or not. So that can take a little bit of getting used to. Maybe it's not your playstyle to kind of have this very hard-hitting charge up weapon that you can switch between modes. That may just be a little funky for some people. I don't know. But yeah, when we do compare it to ARs and the Purifier, the ARs have an easier, they're easier to use essentially. So that could be seen as a con. And then another con. So if you compare this to the Scorcher, when you shoot targets up close to you, it has a small explosive radius. It's going to hurt you a little bit, but not too much damage if you lay off the trigger. For the Purifier, on the other hand, if you have a fully charged shot and you hit somebody in close radius of you, there's a good chance you're dead, unless you have the armor kit that gives you more explosive resistance, or the one that has that 50% chance when you get dealt lethal damage, it keeps you alive. So unless you have those two armor kits, anything else, yeah, you're probably just killed yourself. So that's definitely another negative. Now, you veteran players out there are thinking, man, those negatives, not very much. And that's true. That's why I think this weapon is S tier overall. I mean, we're gonna pop the lid off this one. Yeah, for the bots and the bugs, this thing is S tier. It does a phenomenal job. So since it's S tier, does it mean it's perfect? No, not really. I mean, like I said earlier, it doesn't do structure damage. So things that pair really well with this weapon here would be something like the grenade pistol. If you want to talk about stratagem weapons, the grenade launcher, any of the rocket launchers this goes really well with. But it's not really a weapon you'd want to pair with something like the railgun or even like a heavy machine gun, because this gun does such a phenomenal job at killing just chaff in general. I'm talking about bug breach chaff that just keeps coming and coming. This thing does a phenomenal job at taking those out. And if you have to double up, say with something like a machine gun or a AMR or something like that, then it just feels like overkill. It would be a clunky build to have the Purifier and the sniper rifle, or the Purifier and the railgun. Those combinations I wouldn't recommend. I don't think those really like pair with each other very nicely. So that's my thoughts with the Purifier. I think this weapon's phenomenal. Guys, go give it a try. It's one of the best weapons out there for a primary weapon. You get it from the Polar Patriots warbond. I'm gonna need to do another warbond ranking list as well, because now the Polar Patriots warbond, man, it is looking like one of the best warbonds out there right now with all the things that it lets you have. So I've got some work to go do, I guess, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We do have another warbond coming out later this week, and I'll try to cover that pretty quickly, give my thoughts on it. But until then, Helldivers, peace and take care. Hang on, yep, got my helmet here, so you don't want to get in trouble for that.